Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the second episode of MR.talks. My name is Mario Rodriguez, and today we are talking about love. The reason why we're talking about love is because Friday is Valentine's Day, and I hope that you're spending the day with someone that you care about. I hope that you're spending it with your loved one, the little special someone in your heart that you're spending time with. But if you don't have a Valentine's Day, or sorry, if you don't have a Valentine's during this Valentine's Day, um, it's okay. You can still spend time with, maybe your girls, your boys, whoever you want to spend time with to show your love. Today in my Mr. Sloth cup, I have water because I feel like I've been not drinking enough water. Um, but let's go back to talking about love. The reason why I kind of wanted to talk about it this week is because I I'm 22 years old and I've never been in love straight up. I have never had an actual adult relationship. The last time I had a real girlfriend, and that's a with quotes, I was in high school, and I don't really know how to feel about it during the love season. But this year, I actually do have a Valentine's um, with someone who I really care about. So that's fun. It's my first Valentine's. In a while that I actually had a Valentine's. And I honestly, I'm a little nervous to talk about it because, admitting it out loud and now posting it on the internet, it's a little bit like an overwhelming feeling. But I knew when I started this podcast that sometimes like I'm gonna be a little bit vulnerable in order to be authentic, because that's what I really want. And when I look back at this video, I hope that I'm I hope that I'm like looking at my past self, which is funny because I'm like thinking about my future self, looking at my past self, and I hope that my future self is thinking, you're gonna meet the one day. And it's just an embarrassing feeling because I feel like everyone, you know, saying out loud, I've never been in love before, and you are 22 years old, and everyone around you is, you know, in a relationship, you know what I mean? And like super happy and like I'm actually a part of a groomsman this year, so it's kind of like really hitting me. Like a bridal party, and I'm the only single groomsman on that bridal party. And I guess this year it's just like hitting me a little harder than usual. I think it's just because I have a friend and a cousin actually who are engaged with the love of their life, and I'm so happy for them. But it definitely makes you put in some self-reflecting when you're 22 years old and have not ever been in love with someone. um, but I think it's important to talk about because I do think that I'm not the only one. I've seen on the internet and like I've talked to some friends who have never been intimate or been in love with someone that they care about. And it's a good thing because that means like I'm not alone in this, and I think that's like a really reassuring thing. I One, the reason why I'm also talking about it now is because I feel a bit more secure with myself. Before it was a giant insecurity of mine, but like I used to think when I haven't been in love with someone, because like sometimes you just think about it a little too long, and like with anything really, but like for this specific thing, when you think about it for too long, and then you overthink it, and then you overanalyze it, and then you start like reevaluating not only yourself but your whole entire life. But sometimes when you have gone that long, without being in love with someone. And you know what? I think that can be attested to anybody who just got out of a relationship, who, they're questioning love in general. When you think about not being in love for that long, or whenever you decide to question love in general, you question if you're even capable of loving someone. And I think that's a pretty normal thing when it comes to being in your early 20s, because you're not only figuring yourself out, but you're figuring your life out. So maybe you don't have the capacity to love someone just yet because you're really focused on your life and meeting your goals before you meet the love of your life, or even try to. But I think the unhealthy way to think about it is when you haven't been in love, or if it's been a while since you've been in love, you think about it in the way like, is anyone capable of loving me? Am I lovable? And I think that's a very unhealthy way to think about it, because you are, first off. I think that that's such a normal thought to think about, and I think it's very toxic and I think it's very unhealthy. But the way that you can actually help yourself from thinking that and reassuring yourself that that's not the case, because it isn't. You are lovable. And this is, you know what, if you've been thinking that recently, I'll be your sign right now to let you know that you are 1000% lovable. Your worth as a human being is so much greater than you probably think, and you are 100% lovable. Okay? Do not question just because you are single this Valentine's that you are not going to meet the one day, and you're going to have the best Valentine's because you guys met. You know what I mean? Your timeline is almost there, or maybe it's going to take a little longer, but you just have to be patient. And like I said before, the way that you can really reassure yourself that you are lovable is by like just work on yourself in general. I think if you think that, I don't think that you love yourself. And I know that's that might be really harsh, but I think it's true. I think that if you question if you are lovable, sometimes it is because of other people's actions, of course. But I also think that you just haven't worked on yourself where you even love yourself to reassure that you are lovable, that someone is capable of loving you. You know what I mean? And I have been working on myself. I probably for a while now. I listen, I've never had gosh, this is so embarrassing to say. I've never had an adult relationship. After high school, I have not had an actual girlfriend. I've only had situationships, and let me tell you, they were long-term situationships. Like, I'm talking about over a year. For that long. Things are complicated, you're figuring it out in your early 20s, and that's what I am doing right now. I've been working on myself, and I've been really just reassuring myself that I am lovable, and that one day that someone will love me unconditionally, and I will do the same to them back. And I think that's like an important thing to talk about, because I don't know, I feel like I rarely see specifically men who are my age talking about never being in love. You know what I mean? And I think that if I talk about it, maybe someone else can relate to it. Not only to guys, but I'm sure there's plenty of girls who right now feel lonely because it's a loving season and everyone has a Valentine's who's spending um, a nice day with their significant other. Um, but yeah, I think you should just work on yourself. I think you should question how you can put time and effort into yourself in order to reassure that you are capable of being loved. Because once you are doing that, you're going to show yourself that you are in love with yourself and that you have this confidence exuding out of you, and it's going to, people are going to see that. People are going to be attracted to that. I promise you. Um, and I think, it's also hard when you're in your early 20s because I still think a lot of high school couples are still together or they're listen, I've seen a lot of high school couples break up recently. Um but I think that being in your 20s and you see people just dating and you kind of realize that these people are just not mature enough, I think like we're right now growing so much, not only in ourselves but in our lives in general. Like I think that we are moving so fast in our lives where things change so drastically, whether it's like education, career, your wants in life, your values might change. Things might be different, when you're 22 than if you were in your like late 20s or early 30s. So I'm pretty okay with being single right now as a 22-year-old. I'm happy with being single right now because I've worked on myself so much, and I think that life changes so fast in your 20s that I think it's actually a lot easier to be in your 20s than being in a relationship, because I feel like there's so much that you want to achieve and there's so much that life is throwing at you in your 20s that it's easier for you to grow. And once I'm meeting someone who makes my life easy and that they're a plus instead of a stress, you know what I mean? I think that that's when I'm gonna know that they're the one. But not to say that I'm not trying to date. And that moves me into speaking about dating apps. Dating apps, y'all. Oh boy. Listen, we've all been there, all right? Um Men and women can testify it's a tale old as time. Dating apps suck. I'm so happy for the people who actually got married from the dating apps, because I've seen like quite a few videos recently. Um but man, they're just not it, because then you have to like figure out who you genuinely vibe with, who you genuinely like, and like you're just going on multiple dates to see. It's like a weird, because like no one ever wants to play a game, but when it comes to dating apps, I feel like you are kind of playing a game. You're basically going maybe on like three new dates maybe a month, you know what I mean, because you like matched on online and you're now just comparing them and seeing what you don't like. You know what I mean, like it's complicated, but I think the right way to do it is really just be open, but also don't be afraid to, set those standards even from night one. You know what I mean? Because having those standards, I think, can bring like a maturity level. And I think that if you want to attract the right one, having those standards from the start is a really good idea. I also think that if you're trying on dating apps, I also recommend trying it, like trying it another way. Maybe doing it organically, meeting someone at a bar, maybe an activity. Maybe, you know what, ask a friend to set you up with their friend. You know what I mean? I think that's like, I think that's what I would prefer, to be honest with you. I think I would prefer a friend recommending me to another friend and then we go on a date instead of going on a dating app, honestly, because I just don't like the dating apps. And it's really funny, speaking of, because it's Valentine's and I'm just been getting so many swipes because everyone's just desperate for Valentine's Day. Wait, that actually sounds really mean, but I think that a lot more people are just like swiping, um, right, because I don't know, they want to do something for Valentine's Day, and I think love's in the air, so they're kind of like having FOMO, and they feel like they're missing out. But for the past couple years, when it was Valentine's Day, I think that I celebrated with my friends. I'd like to say I actually don't remember. I think Valentine's Day was that insignificant to me. But this year, I actually do have a Valentine's, and I'm excited to spend the day with her. Another thing that I really want to talk about is if you've been struggling with the fact that you're single and you really want a relationship, I think you should always think about the people who are in toxic relationships. Would you much rather be single or be less lonely? You know what I mean? Would you much rather be single or constantly worrying about your partner cheating on you? Would you much rather be single or constantly arguing about small things that really bring no value to the relationship? You know what I mean? Like, would you much rather be single than in a bad relationship? You know, you really have to ask those questions, because one day you will meet the love of your life. And I think to get you excited about that, to get you excited that you're single and you're still going to meet the love of your life one day. Like one day you're going to meet that person and you're going to be able to fall in love with them. You haven't done that yet. Isn't that exciting? Isn't that like a warm feeling? You know, like you get so excited that one day that you're going to meet the person that you're going to spend the rest of your lives with, and you're going to fall in love with them for the first time one day. You know, it's going to happen. You know, don't feel like it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? But like I said, I think that you should really change your mindset in order for you to be okay being single right now. Because being single is definitely fun. You know what I mean? You first off, you have way more time for literally anything else. You have time to put work into anything else that you've been working on in your life. You know, whether it's any sort of fitness goals or something that maybe like a project for work or a creative project or something like a side hustle or something. You're going to be able to do that. You have also time to build your foundation of when it comes to your friends as well. So I think that really changing your mindset when you're single is really important. From like what you have to change it from all those negative thoughts to being like, wait, one day I'll meet the one and I haven't met them yet, and you're going to go through this journey with them, and that's so exciting. Be excited about it instead of being like, when am I going to meet them? You really got to change your mindset, because if you don't, it might like consume you. Sometimes I've seen people like just be so depressed because they are lonely and not in a relationship, and that worries me because I don't want them to ever to jump into the like first person who's willing to give them a pool to jump in. You know what I mean? Like, don't jump into the next relationship that is offered to you and settle because you just want to feel less lonely. And I think that's a thing that a lot of people should work on, because I think loneliness in general is a very scary feeling, and I think it can make people just settle down, and then 20 years down the line they just regret it. So I like I said, the whole point of me rambling on about that and being single, I really want you guys to understand that being single and in your 20s, in fact, is a great thing. You are capable of doing anything. Don't forget that you have willpower. Don't forget that you are a human being that can literally do anything. You can move to a new city. You can get a tattoo. You can try a new haircut because you're single. You can do whatever you want. And you know what? Even if you're in a relationship, I believe that you can do that too. And to the people who are in a relationship, know that I am so happy for you. I'm happy for you, and I'm happy that you're still listening if that's the case. But you know what? For the people who are in a relationship right now, I want you to take a moment and really appreciate your significant other. You know what I mean? Your girlfriend, your boyfriend, and just really appreciate them. You know what I mean? Because look how many people, or if you look around and look how many people are jealous of that, yeah, and are envious of, meeting that one day and they're not in that position. I think that you got really lucky meeting someone you love and care about this early on in your life. So I think that it's really important for you to, look at that. Um, so like I said before I move on to my next topic, if you are single and if you are in your early 20s, do not forget that this is an amazing time to be single. You know what I mean? You have plenty of time. Everything's going to be okay. Don't let it consume you. If you are having negative thoughts about being single and how it's so lonely. I think you should really try on working on yourself, whether it's trying something new, hanging out with friends who build up your confidence, because I think that's very important, having that support system. Um, any maybe working out, like uh, meeting your fitness goals, or trying a new haircut or getting a tattoo. That be cautious about those, but you know what I mean? Like, do something that builds up your confidence so you feel more secure. So instead of when you meet the right one, it's not because you feel less lonely, it's because they're enhancing your life. You know what I mean? Like, it's a plus, not a stress. All right. The next thing I want to talk about today is love languages, everyone. I think this is really important, especially when you're trying to meet someone. I think love languages are really important because you really have to know what your partner love language is, because if you don't, you might not be giving them what they need to feel confident and secure in your relationship, you know? So there's five, I believe. There's quality time, which means that really just spending time with each other, being in the same room, doing the same activity. I think even phone calls or FaceTime can equal as quality time because you're putting time into that, you know? There's words of affirmation, just reassuring them with words, giving them a good morning text, maybe, like to show that you still are thinking of them and care about them and love them. The next one is acts of service, and opening a door for your loved one, or making them a meal, to show that you love them. And like the meal, you're making it right, and it's like their favorite meal, and like to show you that you've been listening and everything like that. Gift giving, giving them an item that they've been needing or just been wanting, and you surprise them. um, or giving them flowers every day. I think it's really important when it comes to those two. I think acts of service and gift giving, that you really pay attention to like the small things, because if you're going to be paying attention to the small things, it'll like give you a better like opportunity to show that you love them. Because if you give them, let's say, roses, but they hate roses and they actually love daisies, it's still defeating the purpose. You know what I mean? You have to put some effort in paying attention to your partner for that one. Physical touch, kissing, being intimate, um, like hand holding, back rubs, I guess, like cuddling, something like that. I want to rank them now. So I would say, I think in the order that I said it, actually. I think number one would be quality time. I think that if I can spend time with someone and I have the most amazing time, or I feel so happy because they're in like the same vicinity as me, I think that just makes me so happy and giddy. Like I think that I've like also realized that with my friends, you know what I mean? Like I really just care about um just spending time with them. And I can literally do anything with them, you know? It could be grocery shopping, it could be going to the movies, it can even just be going for a walk, it could be getting a coffee, and you know, anything to just show us that it's small. Um anything that's small but like showing me that we can just spend time and do anything is a really important thing for me. The next thing would be words of affirmation. I think that if you can swim me over with words, I don't know. I think that you know, like compliments, like I said, texting me, reassuring things to let me know that you are still into me. You know what I mean? Because I don't know. It just brings more security and confidence, for me at least. If I get that. Then it would be, I think acts of service and gift giving probably would be tied. Um, I don't care as much for those, but I think that if it's something that is small and I mentioned to you like a month ago and then you give it to me, I think that's honestly amazing. Or if it's like for Christmas and I mentioned it throughout the year that I've been kind of wanting this and you give it to me, I think that like you get a lot of points from me from that one. The last one is physical touch, and I think that's actually very shocking for a lot of people. I think a lot of people have physical touch as number one as their love language. But I think due to trauma personally, I think it's just my least favorite. Um I barely like giving hugs. I think it's like really intimate too. I don't know. It's like it's a weird thing for me and I'm still like working on it. It's like a new thing that I've recently realized about me. I actually thought physical touch was like the number one when I was learning about love languages. But in reality, I think it's like the last one. I think it's the last thing to show me that you still care about me, if that makes sense. For to like reassure me, that is probably one of the last things. Um, but obviously, if I'm in love with someone and I'm in a relationship with someone, or like in a situationship, I guess, physical touch is more comfortable. It's easier. But I think why I put it at number five, it's because it is the last thing to reassure me in our relationship, if that makes sense. And yeah, I want to ask you guys, um, what is your love language? You know, what is your love language that you know you want your partner to give you? You know, is it quality time, words of affirmation, acts of service, gift giving, physical touch? I want to know what it is, and leave a comment down below what love language that you prefer the most, you know? All right, guys. I hope that you really enjoyed this episode. I honestly just want to finish off by wrapping up from what I've said before about me being single and how if you're single right now during this Valentine's Day, um, it's okay. I know I've said it and I know I'm kind of being redundant, but it's true. I really want to make you guys know that being single in your 20s is amazing. It's a really good thing. I think that you need to change your mindset into not being in love and wanting your soulmate should be a want and not a need, because I think once you do it as a need or think about it as a need, you might put yourself in a situation or a relationship, I rather should say, you're going to put yourself in a relationship where you're going to just be in it because you feel less lonely instead of actually being in love. You know what I mean? I think, like I said before, work on yourself, you know, secure yourself, be in love with yourself because you are an amazing human being. I think that whoever is watching or listening, Understand that you are worth it, okay, to be in love with. You are lovable. Do not think that you are not. You know what I mean? The perfect one will come one day, whether it is a week, a month, a year. You know what? And even since we're in our 20s, a decade, I think that you'll meet that person. And you just got to be patient, and by being patient, you just have to put effort into yourself, into being happy by yourself. Because once you're happy by yourself, you're going to realize you really don't need another person. And that's what I said before. It should not be a need. It should be a want. It should be a plus, not a stress. You hear me? You hear me? All right, guys. Thank you for listening to this episode. Please, show me some love on whatever platform you're listening to, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. If you're watching this clip on Instagram or TikTok, please give it a follow. Please give it some love. Thank you for all the support from the last episode. I really appreciate that, everyone. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. And I hope that you felt seen. And I hope that you get a better insight into my life, because I feel like I haven't really talked about being single before. Like, I've always said I'm really okay with being single, which is true, I am, but I don't think I've really ever given the reason on why. I've worked on myself for so long, and I'm really happy on where I'm at in life. So yeah, see you on the flip side. I hope you enjoy your day or night. Goodbye, guys.